announcement to make. Suck my big black. I won the lotto. I won the lotto. I'm a crazy you. Oh, yes.
Well, I wish I could win the lottery. Welcome to Flynndogg Woodwork. Today, I sort of feel like I did win the lottery, and that's because I just got a bunch of new tools from a brand that I recently took a look at, and that's Goingmake Tools. This has been my most popular video to date, so I thought I'd check out the rest of their items. So let's go check them out. So if you haven't seen the video I recently did on the 4 tools that I took a look at from Goingmake, you can go check it out on the link in the description below. I had no idea that that video would be so popular, nor did I have any idea that I would be as impressed with the Goingmake brand as I was. If you haven't seen that video, let's go take a look at the tools that I reviewed. So here's a look at the 4 items that I reviewed in that video. The first item is the shelf pin jig. After that, we have 2 3/4 inch bench dog clamps. Next up is the thin rip jig, and probably my favorite is the miter square. So you may be asking what impressed me so much about Goingmake in my last video. Well, there's a couple of items. The first thing may be quite obvious, and that's the color scheme of the tools. With the black background and the white writing, these things are extremely easy to read.
Yes, it's very easy to read.
Now, I did get a few questions on the last video as to whether or not the white writing was painted or etched, and the answer is all the white writing is painted. But even though the writing on these tools is painted, it doesn't discount the second thing that I like about these tools, and that's the materials they're made of. All of these 4 tools have all of their critical parts made from cast aluminum, and there's very little plastic. The only tool with any plastic at all are the bench dog clamps, and the plastic pieces are the handle that you screw down, as well as the pad on the very end of the clamp. And finally, the last thing that impressed me about these tools is each one of them has a feature that many of their competitors just don't have. Whether it's the adjustability of the bench dog clamp that has 2 holes where you can place the jaws of your clamp, the locking bearing on the thin rip jig that only goes one way, the pin and extra arm on the miter square, or the adjustability of the shelf pin jig with multiple holes, I hadn't seen many of these features on any other tool.
Pretty sweet, huh?
Well, that's enough about those tools, as I took a deep dive into each one of those tools in my previous video. What I'm here to talk to you about today is my new tools. So what did I get? Well, that's a great question. Let's go take a look.
Damn, son! Living large, what's up?
Well, I warned you I got a lot. Let's start to take a look at some of these tools to see if they stack up as well as the last ones did. So one of the first questions you're probably asking is, where are these tools made? Well, they're Chinese.
Unbelievable.
And I know, I get it, I'd rather buy American too. But when I do a tool review on this channel, I'm really looking for a lot of value for the money. But I can't ignore tools that claim they can do the exact same thing as more popular and expensive brands like Craig and Woodpeckers can do at less than half the price. So let's get into it and dig into our first item. I mean items. Ugh. So inside these boxes, we have Goingmake T-rollers. I hope the packaging is as good as they claim. So as you can see here, I've got 5 of these T-rollers. I've got a 12-inch, a 16-inch, a 20-inch, a 24-inch, as well as a 32-inch. And the packaging for all 5 of these T-rollers is exactly the same. So let's go grab the middle-sized one, the 20-inch T-roller, and see what it looks like. If we open the box of the tool, you can see that it comes with instructions, which is kind of rare with these Chinese tools. If we take the styrofoam top off, you can see that it comes with the ruler as well as the anchor for the tool, along with some hardware. Now, if you're familiar with Woodpecker's T-rulers, you'll know that they come completely assembled right out of the box, so you know they're completely accurate. So I'm a little bit concerned with these Goingmake T-rulers as to whether or not they're going to be accurate, but we'll test that in just a moment. So if we take a closer look at what comes inside the box, you can see there's the lip of the square or the anchor. There's also the ruler itself, along with an Allen key and 6 machine screws. So I'm guessing the key to making sure that this ruler is completely accurate is going to have everything to do with assembly. So let's go over how we're supposed to assemble this tool. So if we take a look at the ruler and the anchor itself, you can see there's 4 holes, and this is where the machine screws will go. Now let's flip the ruler over and see what's going on with the back side of it. So if we take a look at the back side of the ruler, you'll notice that there's two little notches cut out. And these are where the two little nubs on the anchor will go and fit right into place. And it's these two little nubs that are key when aligning your two pieces so that when you put your machine screws in, everything aligns perfectly. So I'll take my ruler and place it right on top of that anchor, and you can feel it slide right into place. And once it's in place, this thing doesn't move at all. To secure the ruler to the anchor, the instructions tell you to install 2 of the machine screws on the interior of that ruler. So I'll take 2 of the machine screws and place them into the interior holes on that ruler and lock them into place with the included hex key. Once I have those 2 machine screws installed, I can now install the other 2 machine screws. So in the same fashion, I'll take the other 2 machine screws and lock them into place. Once I've gone through and made sure that all 4 screws are completely tight, this T-ruler is assembled.
Perfect assembly.
And I'll tell you right off the bat, this Goingmake T-ruler feels just as secure and tightly put together as my Woodpecker's T-ruler. But that doesn't mean squat. I'm gonna test the hell out of this T-ruler in just a moment. But before we do that, I need to assemble the other 4 squares. So here I have all 5 of the T-squares assembled, and each one was assembled in the same way. The only one that had a little bit of difference was the 32-inch T-square. If we look at the 32-inch T-square, you can see that it has 6 machine screws versus all the others which only have 4. Which is nice because over this 32-inch span, you're gonna want as much rigidity as possible in this square. And as you can see, this is the same design feature that Woodpeckers used as well, using 6 machine screws. Before we test out these squares, I want to go over some of the physical components of these squares as well as some of the features. So here I have 2 32-inch squares flipped over. First off, the Goingmake has a very similar construction with the same size lip as the Woodpeckers. You'll also notice that they have very similar distances from each side of the T. Each one of these is exactly 6 inches wide. Now remember a few minutes ago when I said the one thing that I like about Goingmake is they have additional features that their competitors typically don't have?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, let's go take a look at the front of those T-squares. So one of the nice things that I use a lot and really appreciate with the Woodpeckers is they have little scribe holes at every 1/16 of an inch. But if we look at the Goingmake, they take it a step further. They have the same scribe holes, only these go to 1/32 of an inch, giving you just a little bit more precision. Now, is this entirely necessary?
Actually, that's overkill.
Maybe, maybe not. However, it is nice to have the flexibility if one of your measurements doesn't fit that exact 1/16 of an inch. So that's about all there is to say about the physical features of each one of these tools. Now let's move on to do or die time and test out the accuracy of these squares. So I'm going to walk you through how I'm going to test the 32-inch square. Then off camera, I'll test out each additional square and I'll show you the results. So first off, I'm going to do a control test and use my Woodpecker's TS32 and strike a line down the 32 inches. With that line struck, I'll now take the 32-inch Goingmake and strike a line on the same line. So I'll take the Goingmake and slide it over to the line I just struck and repeat the process of striking a line. And if we look at the very end of that line, I'm very pleased with the results. If we can get this kind of results with the 32-inch ruler, I suspect we're going to get similar results for each one of the others. Lastly, I want to do one other test with the 32-inch square, and that's to make sure that both sides of the ruler are completely square. So for this test, I'm simply going to strike a line on one side of the ruler, move the ruler over, and strike a secondary line. And the results of this test are just as impressive as our first test. So I'm going to move forward and test out the rest of the squares. So it's going to be a little bit hard to show here, but here I tested out the 12-inch, the 16-inch, the 20-inch, and the 24-inch. And the results were very similar to the 32-inch T-square. And obviously this wasn't a scientific test.
I like to think of myself as a brilliant scientist.
But it's enough to give me some confidence to know that I'll get an accurate measurement with this tool. Well, Goingmake is continuing to impress me. Let's check out another one of their tools and see if it works just as well. So this next tool is the Goingmake Concealed Hinge Jig. Let's open it up and take a look. So one thing I'll have to say about all these Goingmake tools is the packaging is exceptional. You can see everything is foam packed and very secure. So let's take a look at what comes with this tool. As you can see, there's the jig itself as well as a drill guide. It also comes with a Forstner bit, a drill bit, an Allen key, a stop collar, a drill guide, as well as a dust collection chute. And if you're curious like me, that dust collection chute does fit a Festool hose. So let's take a closer look at the jig and see how it works. So let's first take a look at the underside of the jig. One of the first things you'll notice is the clamp that allows you to attach this jig to the door. You'll also notice alignment pins. This allows you to align the jig from the side of the door as well as the top of the door. Now let's flip that jig around and see what's on the front side. So if we look at the front of the jig, you can see there's a lot going on here. First and foremost is the dust collection chute. In front of that is a center scale ruler that goes from 0 to 3 1/4. Over here on the left, you see the offset cross reference, and this converts inches to millimeters. On the left and the right hand side, you can see the offset for the top and the bottom of the door. At the very bottom, you can see the screw hole offsets for where you place your pins on the opposite side. Now that we have an idea of the basic structure of the tool, let's install a hinge. So the first thing that we're going to do is to take the drill guide. Then we'll take our Forstner bit and place it inside that drill guide. After that, we can place our stop collar on top of that Forstner bit. Once we've done that, we can now determine how deep we want our hinge hole to be. In my case, a 1/2 inch.
How do you know it's only 1/2 inch?
And this is where our last markings on the front of the jig will come into play. If we place our drill guide on top of that, we can set our drill bit to 1/2 inch. Then we can lock it into place with our Allen key. Once we have everything aligned, we can now place our Forstner bit into our drill and place the drill guide into the jig. Then it's just a matter of placing the drill guide into the jig and drilling it out. Now that we have that 1/2 inch hole drilled out, let's take a look at another feature of this jig. So if we take a look at the second part of the jig, you can see there's a 5/64 drill guide. And this is made to drill pilot holes for the screws that will hold in your hinge. So after you figure out what distance the holes are on your hinge, you set the pins on your drill guide and place it into your jig. In my case, it's 45 millimeters, so I'll place the drill guide into the jig and drill out those holes. With all that complete, all that's left to do is to install your hinge. And that, my friends, is a perfect fit. Now, I've dealt with other concealed hinge jigs in the past, specifically Craig, and the nice thing about this jig is it's entirely aluminum, versus the Craig, which is almost entirely plastic. In my opinion, I think we have another winner here. Let's keep grinding through these Goingmake tools and check out our next item. Before we do that though, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I've had a lot of growth over the last few weeks and I really appreciate it. Still, however, only 9% of the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and leave a comment. It really does help out this small woodworking channel. Also, just like with all my videos, I'm going to leave links in the description below, so if you're interested in any of these Goingmake tools, you can go check them out for yourself. Now let's move on to our third Goingmake tool. The next tool I want to check out is the Goingmake 45 and 90 degree clamp. Let's see how this works. So once again, Goingmake is killing it with the packaging. Inside you'll find the instructions along with 2 clamps. Now these function in a very similar manner to those L clamps that you see everywhere. Now I know a lot of you probably have those L clamps and they work quite well. In fact, they're probably one of my favorite corner clamps. However, these Goingmake corner clamps have a couple of extra features. Now if we look at everything that comes inside this package, you can see there's 4 clamping jaws as well as the 2 corner brackets. Now the nice thing about these corner brackets is they do have a center scale on each one of the sides. If we turn them around, they have one of my favorite things, and that's a lip. And these lips, just like many of the lips that we see on our squares, mean stability. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if we use this clamp to set up a right angle, we can use that lip and place it right on our 2 pieces of wood. And this clamp will stay in place as you screw on your jaws. And that's kind of a nice feature. You can set your clamp on the very edge of your workpiece and have it stay in place as you screw on your jaws. Now, if you remember from a few minutes ago, I said that this is not only a 90-degree clamp, but it's also a 45-degree clamp. Let me show you how that works. So this is an example of how you would use it on a 45-degree angle, and I was trying to come up with an example of when you would need to clamp down a 45-degree angle, and I really couldn't come up with one. Leave a comment below if you can think of where you would need to clamp up a 45-degree angle.
I can't think of any reason why I would.
Now, although I can't think of a reason why I'd need to clamp up a 45-degree angle today, it is a nice feature that this tool has that I may be able to use in the future. Now, although this tool may not be as sexy as the first two tools we've taken a look at today, it does function as advertised, and it does have that extra feature to be able to clamp at 45 degrees. So I'd give these clamps a thumbs up if you're in the market for some new corner clamps.
Clamp corners.
Well, it's hard to believe. 3 tools down and only one more left to take a look at today. And this last tool is a tool that I already have. In fact, I reviewed it for my Temu video as well as my Banggood video. So let's see how Goingmake approaches this tool and see if it's any better. So this last tool is the Goingmake Chisel and Planer Honing Guide. Let's unbox this and see what it's all about. So once again, we have some killer packaging here. Inside the box, we're going to find the instructions along with a hard shell carrying case that contains our honing guide. So right off the bat, I'm already impressed as we have a hard shell carrying case. Since this is a tool that we're not going to be using on a daily basis, it's nice to have all these pieces in one place. If we look inside the box, you're going to find the sharpening angle guide along with a sharpening angle fixture. You'll also find the honing guide as well as some hardware. Let's put this together and see how it works. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a feature that this fixture has that's really nice. And that feature is the adjustability of the wheels on the bottom. Here you can see I have the larger wheels installed, and this is perfect for larger blades like your plain blades. But if you're dealing with smaller blades like your chisel blade, it also comes with smaller wheels. And I've got 2 honing guides like this, and I haven't seen the adjustability with 2 wheels on either one of those honing guides. So let's take this nasty old plain blade and set it up with a 35-degree bevel. The first thing that you'll do is you'll slide the blade into the honing guide. Then you'll push the honing guide against the angle fixture and you'll find your marking. In this case, 35 degrees. Press your blade up against that angle fixture and tighten the knob on the very bottom. Once you have your plain blade locked into place, you can begin the process of cleaning up your bevel. So you'll take your honing guide, flip it over, and begin rubbing it on your stone. And if you want to do a chisel, it's just a matter of replacing the larger wheels with the smaller ones. And this is easily done by unscrewing the larger wheels with the Allen key and reinstalling the smaller ones. Once those smaller wheels are installed, you sharpen your chisel blades in the same fashion that you did your plain blades. Placing your chisel into the honing guide, setting your angle, locking it down, and then sharpening your chisel. And this honing guide can accommodate a chisel as small as 1/8 of an inch wide and a plain blade as large as 3 inches wide. Lastly, if you're not quite sure what angle your bevel's at, this thing also comes with a sharpening angle gauge. So I'm really impressed with this sharpening angle fixture. As I said before, I already have 2 of them, but I think this thing is going to replace them both. Well, I'll be honest, I did not expect to walk away from this video once again being so impressed with these Goingmake tools. Everything does exactly what it's supposed to. All the critical parts on each one of these tools is made out of metal, and finally, each one of these tools has a feature that you don't see on many similar items. Well, once again, thanks for joining me on checking out these new Goingmake tools. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment. It really does help out this small woodworking channel. Until next time, take care as always.